Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from the beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast,
I'm Frank.
and I'm Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, we're going to kind of break out of our normal thing. We've been kind of stuck in Mormonism for a while,
Indeed.
being ex-Mos. But we got a wonderful email from a Jehovah's Witness listener this week that
Well, you
was
remember-
a
you
response
guys-
to another one that we responded to.
Yeah. So last week he wrote in, we responded, we told him he had to write more.
Yeah,
So he did. He followed his assignment.
Yeah, and so we're going to get into that.
That's
a
good.
little bit. Yeah.
Although I
So-
don't, frankly, looking at it, I don't know that we're really breaking from our Mormonism that much.
Well, what we're sticking with is just sort of strangeness.
Wacky,
Yeah.
proto-Christian religion.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
It's
all very interesting.
Yeah, and apologies in advance if you can hear construction.
Oh yeah, you
may or may not
hopefully
be
you
able
won't
to.
be able to, but yeah, they're building. You know, all the tens of thousands of dollars that I've put into soundproofing and all of this stuff in the TGIA tower here.
Yeah, all it takes is one telephone pole being put up across the street, and that will create noise.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
Progress. That's investment in infrastructure.
yeah. If they could invest in some cell towers in this neighborhood too, that'd be nice.
Be great.
Yeah,
But no, we can't have that.
I lay on my bed. I can talk in one position. I roll over. Can't talk in the other position. That's how bad it is. But anyways. All right. Well, stuff's going on in the world, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where in the world?
Well, there's all that Egypt hullabaloo.
There is hullabaloo in I believe that is the Egyptian word.
Hullabaloo?
Yeah, I think it might be pronounced slightly differently, but I think the word hullabaloo comes from Egypt.
No.
I believe there's even
Fairly-
a hieroglyph
For hullabaloo?
for hullabaloo. It's like a clown with a bass drum.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's on one of the obelisks.
Okay. Does it look like the
It looks like a stegosaurus.
hieroglyph for kerfuffle?
I think that is not. I think that may be like ancient Roman, not Egyptian.
Not Egyptian. Okay. Well, anyways, all this stuff's been going on in Egypt,
Yeah.
and it's caused, as pundits like to do, they comment on
Yes.
such issues.
Commentators making comments.
Yeah, and so that David Brooks
Mm.
at the New York Times
From the Times.
he set off a little bit of a
hullabaloo?
a hullabaloo of his own,
kerfuffle?
a kerfuffle. And over at the Religion News Service, Omid Safi responds back on his blog, "What Would Muhammad Do?" And he accuses David Brooks of racism.
What did Brooks say?
Well, Brooks gets into this whole idea that Egypt just doesn't have the sort of the mental capacity for democracy.
I'm going to guess he
but-
doesn't use the words mental capacity.
Well, here's the last line of the whole thing, and it kind of
Okay.
sums it up. It says, "It's not that Egypt doesn't have a recipe for a democratic transition. It seems to lack even the basic mental ingredients."
Oh, damn.
And he's saying that because of the Muslim Brotherhood having sort of been the late greats of
The powerful structure there.
yeah, that they were the ones that won, the presidency and
Right.
the power positions in their government when they went democratic
Yeah.
a little over a year ago during the Arab Spring. Right?
Yes,
You
indeed.
remember that. Well, anyways, he of course didn't really like the fact that it was the Muslim Brotherhood, and he's saying that it's no that well, basically he defends in some way. I kind of was reading a little bit of defense of the throwing out of Morsi.
Okay.
In fact, he was. In fact, the title of it's defending the coup. So of course he was. But he, yeah. So it's interesting though that this.
But he says that it's to do with not having the mental ingredients, as in,
well,
you know,
in I think what he's
not
saying,
for nothing, but you gotta have a little bit more brains than they got over there. Those guys,
and not to defend David Brooks, defending the coup. I mean, I definitely would not normally be in the position of, but just to kind of take up what he's trying to say.
But in fairness to him,
except he does say the line. That's the problem, is that he just comes right out and says it.
Yeah.
Rather than making some kind of claim that, well, maybe they don't have, enough of a cultural tradition or enough cultural experience with democracy, which is something I guess I could get on board with. I can see that kind of argument. But
there's a lot
flat out saying they don't have the mental capacity for it.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I mean, there are lots of ingredients. Is that the word he used? Ingredients?
Ingredients? Where?
That last line that you said?
Recipe.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to lack even the basic mental ingredients. It's not that Egypt doesn't have a recipe for a democratic transition.
They just don't have the
to lack even the
ingredients.
basic mental ingredients.
You know what? If he had said cultural ingredients, if he had said sort of the underpinnings that need to be there, if he had switched from a culinary metaphor to, let's say, a building metaphor, and said that they lacked the foundation necessary,
sure,
or they lacked whatever, or whatever. But he said mental ingredients.
Yeah,
that's insanity.
Yeah,
wow. I wonder if you're going to say that this response called him racist.
Well, yeah, because
it is.
Yeah. So Omid Safi says he just says the racism of New York Times Muslims are not ready for democracy. And to be fair, again, as much as possible with David Brooks, he was saying he was talking almost exclusively about this about radical Islam.
Okay,
right? That this is not. He wasn't saying Islam. He was saying radical Islam, which we know is...
it's
kind of tough, but radical Islam, as far as like sort of that, just a blanket statement group, whatever, we understand that that's the group that would love to see Islamic control of the whole world, political domination of the entire world.
Sure.
But
that's like equating the reason why America's not ready for something being about the radical Christians who would love nothing more than to see Christianity be in charge of everything.
All right.
Yeah, that's dumb.
But
I mean, saying that an entire country isn't ready for democracy because of a radical element within that country is a bit silly.
Well, a radical element that was running the country.
Well, even the Muslim Brotherhood's not as radical as a lot of as an organization.
Well, yeah, but they were shutting out other groups. They were definitely engaged in anti-democratic activities. And typically when radical Islam does get into the power position in any country, they feel that was the one referendum that they needed to claim power.
True.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why whenever you see, wasn't that what happened in Iran wasn't that the election of... anyways, I'm showing my ignorance of world history. But, yeah. Anyways, I just think it's interesting.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There are a lot of things to criticize about what has happened in Egypt recently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that the Egyptians themselves, when they elected the Muslim Brotherhood and Mr. Morsi, were making some calculated errors, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, but I also think that if you're going to be fostering a democracy, a military coup is not the best way to demonstrate that democracy. I think that there's a lot of issues here, but to decide that it's about mental deficiencies,
right?
That's a problem.
Yeah. It's just, I think the takeaway here is just, it's so easy just to write off Islam.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy, and it just doesn't get us anywhere. And I think that I didn't really like what I thought was amazing. I'm reading this response from Mustafi. I didn't really even like his response because his was just as his was just
it was overly
it was defensive and
Okay.
Yeah, it lacked the kind of stuff I would want to hear from him. But anyways,
nuance and critical thinking and stuff.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, I think you're right. I mean, it is. In fact, here's the thing. Islamists, like radical Islamists, radical religious people in general, are easy to dismiss. Mm-hmm. They make themselves easy to dismiss because they make entirely dismissible claims all the time. Mm-hmm. They're frustrating humans.
Yeah.
And yet we have to sort of deal with them, and especially when they're in power in a world, on the world stage.
Right.
One has to walk gently.
Well, and, the idea is if you can get these people, I think if you can get these people into positions where, and I mean by these people, I mean radical groups that win elections, that would want sort of, to just claim power and control. At some point, they're going to have to get into, making sure the sewers are running right, mm-hmm. and making sure the power grid doesn't go off, and there's the
praying
the
to Allah will not help with that.
Exactly, there are the day-to-day concerns about running a country, and we've seen groups that absolutely have complete disregard for that, like the Taliban,
right?
And obviously those are groups that you just need to shut down. But even well, anyways, I'm totally straying, but with this group, it ran for election. It was having a hard time turning itself from sort of a political movement into a political party.
Right.
And was kind of overreaching. Well, why not work through the Democratic, whatever. So it does open the whole thing up to making easy, broad stroke statements like David Brooks did.
Well, and it may be fair at this point to ask the question, are these people, is this culture ready for
Egypt right now
Western style democracy?
Ready for it?
We don't know. Maybe they're not. So
is the society capable of stepping up?
I think that's a fair question. And those are
well, and there was one comment.
It's a good conversation to have.
I don't typically I hate reading comments on stuff like this because it's like, oh God, what are people going to say? And there were a lot of people who were just like agreeing 100% with the blogger. So this is on the RNS. Mm-hmm. But one of them says, and I thought that it really brought up an interesting point for me, which is they said they have democracy. They need rule of law.
Yeah.
Which is based, they need to trust the rule of law. They need to have a sense of, okay, well, ultimately some more right is going to happen than bad in this society.
Yeah.
And if they can't trust that that's going to be happening, well, that is when you get coups.
Yep.
That is when people overthrow. Is when they no longer can trust their social system and the bureaucracies that are in place.
I mean, you and I were talking before about how lucky we Americans were to have had our troubles with the English at a moment when there were some very cool-headed, very intelligent men there to sort of make good decisions and sort of instill a process or begin a process that instilled trust with the populace.
But it also was not a population. I mean, our revolution, we have to remember, there were democratic bodies.
Right.
This was not a completely brand new concept.
Exactly.
Democracy.
Yeah, we weren't introducing
was there a monarch?
Totally.
Yeah. Was Parliament in England being, douchey to the American colonies? Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was still, democratic mechanisms.
Parliamentary rule.
Yeah, the idea of elected officials and whatnot. I mean, that was nothing new.
And even if the American continent wasn't, if the colonies weren't getting the support that they felt they needed,
right?
They didn't rise up to form a new country. They rose up to get the representation that they felt they needed. And when they saw that wasn't going to happen, that's when they chose to break off.
Yeah. It's hard. It's totally
so those
apples and
underpinnings,
oranges,
underpinnings were there. They were set. They were in place, and they were understood. Everybody sort of understood how it worked.
Right.
So it's different.
Right. But our revolution, apples and oranges.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
Impossible to compare the two.
That's what we're saying.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of England, you remember the church thereof? The C of E.
I've heard of it.
The Anglican English Church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you'll recall, last November, we reported on the fact that they had a meeting of the General Synod and decided not to have women bishops. It was like this. It was a very narrow decision. It had passed the idea of having women bishops had passed two of the three tiers, including it passed the House of Bishops and the House of Clergy, but then failed to gain 2/3 majority in the House of Laity. Well, those lame laity have passed it now.
Oh, no ways.
They's gonna have girl bishops. They're gonna let little girls be the bishops up in there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
lady bishops.
Lady bishops. I'm a lady bishop. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Well, that's nice.
It's very funny.
That's progress.
At one point, opponents, some of the opponents were saying that they were resigned to women bishops, but were insisting on firm guarantees that they could be looked after by male priests and bishops.
Oh, interesting.
To which the supporters of women bishops were like, that might undermine the authority of the women if we said, yes, they're bishops, but go ahead and find yourself a boy one if you need one. Yeah. So, but there you go. There will be bishops in England with vaginas at some point.
Well, good. That's, the more the merrier in the clergy, you know? Like,
although it does bring up,
jump in.
What's funny is that me wording it like with the vagina thing as a little joke does make me think that, because if a male bishop has a sexual assignation, there's really no telltale sign that could show up on him other than an accusation. But if a female bishop has an assignation, she could get pregnant. And how interesting would that be? If an unmarried female bishop, you're just grunting now.
Yeah, that would be
just saying. That's interesting.
Scandalous.
Yep. Maybe that's why men have traditionally been the clergy,
right?
Because too many women got pregnant while they were in power and ruined everything.
You think that's what happened?
No, I don't think that's even remotely likely at all.
I don't think that's what happened at all. I don't think that's how that wound up being.
No.
The status quo, as it were.
All right, well,
as it was,
and as it will be.
Okay. Well, we might as well just continue on with some faith group news.
Gotta love faith groups.
Faith groups. The White House has finally. Well, this news isn't that new, but it's we haven't addressed it yet. Faith groups can now opt out of contraception mandate.
Oh,
and this is a couple weeks old, but
under Obamacare,
the Obama administration finalized some rules that in the last couple weeks that allow religiously affiliated organizations to opt out of a federal mandate that would have required them to provide health insurance to their employees, and that included birth control. Coverage for birth control.
Good for them.
And so now they can say, no,
right,
we won't pay for that.
You
douchey.
Yeah, it is douchey if they would do that.
Well, they're going to.
Yeah, a lot of them will. It's It's, the whole idea that you should, I don't know. I'm rambling now because my brain's going in a million different directions. I'm thinking in terms of like overpopulation, and I'm thinking in terms of,
Right, but you need more
women's health, and I'm thinking in terms of a whole lot of different things, and it's just like, fuck you, Catholics.
Yeah, but you can't block Catholic souls from arriving. That's the whole point.
Into heaven?
No, down to earth.
Yes.
You need more Catholic souls.
We need
bodies,
little vessels.
Yes,
soul vessels.
Yes.
I like
Which
the
is
idea
why you
of
can't
soul
abort them
vessels.
either.
Right.
You want all of those down. You got to pad your numbers. Not to be too cynical here, but
you got to get them going.
That's the whole. I mean, in my mind, that's the whole point. Why do you hate contraception? Because you want more babies.
Yeah, I honestly think that we have a shot at this Pope getting rid of the contraception thing.
I don't.
But not that it matters. Most Catholics don't care about that much anyway.
Right. They'll find it on their own.
Yeah.
If they happen to work for one of the religious groups, faith groups, that won't give it to them,
they'll go to Planned Parenthood.
It's job security for Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, it's true. Although, frankly, as an organization, I don't know that they'd mind being put out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to lose your job and stuff, but
yeah.
But it'd be nice if they weren't necessary.
Maybe you like baby blocking.
You have this image of like some basketball player swatting babies back into wombs. Whap! No, rejected.
And out of wombs.
Well, yeah.
Knocking them out.
Yeah, just plow.
Knock them out of wombs.
Too early for them to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, is your baby viable? No? Whap!
Abortion jokes.
Oh, abortion jokes. We're in trouble again.
There needs to just be a disclaimer that we will make abortion jokes. Sorry.
This podcast makes abortion jokes. Anyway. All right, fine. Hey, I don't know if you've ever heard of Joel Hunter. You may have actually read his name once or twice. He's a pastor down in Florida. And he is he's pastor of the Northland Church, which is Florida's largest evangelical congregation.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Traditionally,
how big is that?
Almost 14,000 members
in one congregation.
Yeah,
that's absurd.
It is absurd.
It's hard to tend your flock when your flock's that big.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have. I mean, he seems like a nice enough fella. He looks like a nice enough fella, but he doesn't even have that Osteen smile that'll carry you through.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Osteen, I can see it. He's got that smile. Everybody looks down. You can see it from the back row.
Yeah.
But apparently he's great. Apparently, because 14,000 people are into him.
That's great.
You know who's not into him?
Who?
1,500 of those former members.
Oh no! Why?
They hit the road.
Why?
He's losing member. He has lost several of his flock because he's a sort of moderate, and I say sort of because he's pretty conservative on a lot of things.
Okay,
but
what is he moderate on?
Political stuff. He is a political moderate. So he gave the benediction at one of Obama's events.
Oh no.
He's one of Obama's personal spiritual advisory dudes.
Dear God.
Yeah. He doesn't shun Obama.
And that's too much for them.
That's a sin. I'm pretty sure that it's like
that's like the 11th commandment.
Yeah, exactly. It's in Revelations or something. It's somewhere in the Bible. And thou shalt shun.
Thou shalt not elect an African American president.
Or thou shalt, go with the flow of radical right-wing politics. So yeah, I mean the fact that he's not on board with the crazy right has apparently lost him a significant chunk of his congregants.
What? Well,
so,
okay.
I got to think that he would have gained some people for exactly the same reason.
One would think, yeah.
But there you go.
Well, it's shocking that a group of people would splinter off from another religious group. That's just shocking to me.
No one
never happens.
You've never heard of that?
Never.
No.
Huh.
Independence,
news.
Missouri.
That's news.
Yeah, I mean it is interesting, but I mean I guess it just the only reason I bring it up is that it speaks to the political climate of the United States of America,
Right?
Which is so just goddamn polarized,
and just how politicized even faith and religion has become.
Like you're not allowed to be of a specific faith and not be of that faith's political leaning,
right? Which is just weird.
Which is just dumb.
Yeah.
You're two different. Yeah, faith, religion needs to understand. We need to be pushing for the separation of church and state on the religion side as well as the state side.
Well, that's up for that's
up to
the responsibility of religious folk, not atheists.
Although then again, the fact that he is also this guy, this Hunter guy, has also supported like vocally backed and financially backed Republican candidates, which is fine, except that doesn't he have to lose his nonprofit status for doing that?
Meh.
But nobody does.
Probably depends on how he does it. Is he in a photo op with someone?
Yeah, he literally
over, or did he do it over the pulpit?
I don't know that it matters for him. I honestly think, but I think it may have been over the pulpit. The fact is that if it wasn't, plenty of guys do it over the pulpit, and then they still don't lose their IRS status.
Bullshit.
That is some bullshit. That's some bullshit that I don't understand. That's just like the law not being practiced to favor the Christians. I don't like that.
Yeah. Bullshit. Well, I have some not so breaking news.
This not just in.
Not recently.
Okay.
Channel 4 here in Salt Lake.
Ooh, Salt Lake.
ABC 4.
Salt Lake's ABC affiliate.
Yes. Has it's an article that somehow kind of passed us by. And it is over a year old. So our apologies. It's not, though, that we haven't talked about this subject before.
Right.
But there's actually like a real article about it, which I think is kind of nice. And it is the fact that the number, the Mormons' numbers are actually in decline versus their public, their normal public statement, what they normally assert in public, which is that they're always growing and we're getting bigger and blah, blah, blah. And every year at General Conference, they always release these new numbers, and it's always, a couple 100,000 more than it was before.
They're claiming now about 14 million?
They claim around 14 million.
Okay.
And so, but the deal is that there was actually this one general authority, so a high-ranking Mormon official, but not sort of in the highest echelons of the church. He's just it sounds like he's a member. It doesn't say what he's a member of, but I'm assuming he's a member of the 70.
What's his name?
Marlon Jensen.
Okay. I'll look it up.
So Marlon Jensen, he went and spoke at this at a class up in Logan at the university up there. The what is that? The university, Utah State University.
Utah State, yeah.
And he was talking to like this. I don't even remember what the name of the class was or anything. But the students in the class started asking him started asking really pointed questions about, the attrition rate in the church. And he responded really honestly with them. And I'm not sure if he knew that the whole thing was being recorded. Because they usually don't do that. But he said, in this whole little thing, he said that the number actually is probably somewhere around 5 million.
Wow.
It's not 14 million. That's 5 million.
He's saying the number of active members.
But the people that
they could really honestly call members.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
5 to 14. That's a pretty amazing ratio right there.
Yeah. I mean, we've always sort of anecdotally known this.
Yeah.
Right. We've known it.
Well, we've seen studies about, Brazil, and we've seen studies that play it out in different parts of the world, but never really gotten word about.
Right, and there's the studies that have people self-report on their religious affiliation, and the numbers totally don't jive here in the United States with what the Mormons say they have.
Right.
And so we've never really had it from a higher up, and it's just really interesting because there are a couple things that happened this last year with the missionary program that I think have to absolutely be just direct responses to this, which is lowering the age of the missionary, the missionary eligibility from 19 for boys down to 18, and from 21 for girls down to 19.
Right.
And then the other thing being just this recent one where they're not really going to be knocking on doors anymore. They're going to be doing all online stuff.
See, my understanding was that they were still going to be knocking on doors, but they were going to be shifting to a lot more online stuff.
Whatever,
but they're still experimenting with new modalities because they realize that what they're doing isn't working.
Well, right. One of the big things that I heard one of the new things that they're doing is they're going to be opening up their chapels daily for tours, and they have to have missionaries there to staff it. And while they're there, they're going to be doing online work because the chapels all have Wi-Fi apparently.
Wow, that'd be. If I could get a coffee there, I might be tempted. Just gonna show up. I'll show up with my laptop and just, hey, I'm just doing some work. Don't worry.
They have a little postum bar.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take a postum espresso.
Postum mocha would probably be good.
Postum mocha.
Postum mocha.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
By the way, Marlon K. Jensen was a member of the First Quorum of the 70 and then was in the presidency of the First Quorum of the 70 and is now an emeritus general authority.
I wonder if he got asked to leave.
He would now.
Retire.
Yeah. Time for you to go.
Jensen, retire. You opened your mouth.
Elder Jensen.
That was privileged information, Elder Jensen.
You are not supposed to know that.
Yeah.
Anywho, well, there you go. Wow. That's a significant difference in numbers. It does make you wonder about all of the churches and how they report their things. But I think this affects Mormonism more strongly than most.
Yeah, they have this. They kind of got themselves. They do this self-reporting thing every 6 months at General Conference, right? Or is it just once a year? I think they only report their numbers once a year at General Conference. But anyways, they got into this habit of always. Having this full report that they give to the full membership of the church about, where are we at and all this kind of stuff. The funny thing is they used to open up the books, the actual financial records of the church, and they would say, this year we brought in X amount in tithing, and this year we spent this much on this, and blah, 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 blah. Well, back in like the 50s or 60s, they were in financial dire straits, and they were all in the red, and they stopped doing it.
Right.
And then they brought in like these, brilliant financial guys, turn the church into
a business,
a for-profit business, and now they won't bring that tradition back at all.
No.
They don't want people to know how much money they have. And so they kind of did this. Now they're at that point with numbers.
Yeah.
But they've just been allowing the numbers to keep going up and going up and going up.
Well, they can.
When they know that if they just stop doing that, there'll be big questions.
Right. Well, the thing is, their numbers do continue to go up. It's because the number of people that they baptize is greater than the number of people who send in a letter saying, please remove me from the rolls.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're actually, the attendance goes up.
Right, but they have, in some parts of the world, they have a 1 in 4 retention rate with baptisms.
Exactly. So attendance is probably declining, even as they're claiming higher numbers.
Well, and I think the issue is, these students, they were sort of from their own experience, anecdotal experience, asking this guy questions of like, why are all my friends falling away? Mm-hmm. What is going on with the church right now?
Right.
And so they're like,
I do like the moment in the news, in the TV news thing where the one guy said, well, no, I know that the church is growing. I'm not worried about it because I know that the church will continue to grow. And you and I both went, if the whole if what you were just asked about is that the church is shrinking, how do you know that it's going to continue to grow? First of all, the word "continue" is a little problematic.
Yeah.
And second of all,
that just goes to show how instilled, how just deeply rooted this belief within Mormonism is.
Yeah.
That the church is always growing.
Yep.
That there's some, like, the church is not true if it's not growing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, it is kind of to that point.
You kind of have to like that would be a great man on the street question. I mean, who knows if you could, but like to really truly ask people, you know, if the church's numbers started to decline, what would that do to your faith?
Right.
And I guarantee you, it would shake them to their core.
Yeah, asking them, you won't get that answer.
No.
But it probably would.
It absolutely would. If their numbers actually started to decline, you'd see a mass fall off from the church. That's bigger than anything they've ever experienced.
If their numbers started to decline, that would indicate a mass fall off from the church.
No, I mean just a small dwindling would turn into a snowball.
Right.
You know?
Indeed.
Or a snowball would turn into a
bigger snowball.
bigger snowball. It would snowball. What would happen.
There would be a snowball effect. That's what you're getting at.
There's this thing, there's this effect where things start to exponentially
Shut up.
build upon themselves. And it's escaping me. I don't know what it is.
Anyway, can I finally move on to Satanism?
Only if you want to.
Oh, but don't I? Yes, I do. So there's a bit of a row among Satanists.
Oh? Over what? There's discord amongst the Satanists.
Over abortion.
Interesting. Really?
Didn't see that coming, did you?
I thought they would love abortion.
Well, you'd think they would be just not even pro-choice, pro-abortion.
Right, exactly.
Or something. No. Here's the deal. So there was a you'll recall that there was a bit of a flap in Texas recently, where they were trying to pass really restrictive abortion laws, and then there was a filibuster and blah 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 blah. Well, there were people outside of the state house, protesting on either side. People chanting, people yelling, people the waving of signs and the gnashing of teeth.
Yeah.
And apparently, some pro-abortion rights groups started chanting "Hail Satan" to I guess to freak out the pro-lifers, to make them feel uncomfortable. I'm really not sure. Frankly, I'm sure that the pro-lifers were accusing them of being satanic or something like that.
And they were like, okay.
They're like, fine, well then
we'll
hail
see
Satan.
your accusation and raise you a praise Satan.
Right, exactly. Okay. So suddenly, after that, a Twitter user calling themselves UK Church of Satan tweeted, "Unfortunate to see Satan's name used in such a diabolical manner. Another example of what Satanism doesn't represent."
Diabolical is what they
# Hail Satan. But then they also tweeted this one. You ready for this?
Okay.
Why wouldn't Satanism be pro-life? What else is there? We are all free to make choices, agreeable or not. Everyone is entitled to choice. Which is confusing, because it's like, are you pro-life? Are you talking about choice, like to be pro-life? Or are you talking about like being able to choose being pro-choice? Or what? I was very confused by that tweet. But apparently, it caused a kerfuffle back here in the States. Because the leader of the Church of Satan, which is an official church,
that's true.
Apparently was upset about this. He claims, we're talking about Peter H. Gilmore, Magus Peter H. Gilmore, or Magus. It's his title. He's the Pope of Satanism. But I don't know how to say his title.
Is it with a G?
Magus. He's the, or maybe is that? Yeah, I think that's his title.
It's Magus. The plural would be Magi.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. There you go.
There you go.
So he's the Pope. He's the High Priest of the Church of Satan. He says there is no UK Church of Satan.
Oh, interesting.
Because his group, unlike whoever the UK Church of Satan is, his group has a website, and also is like
right.
It also has standing in the U.S. and other countries as the Church of Satan, and has been operating as the Church of Satan for many years.
Interesting. So what are they saying then?
So he's saying, first of all, that this other group is just a hoax, that this isn't a group, it's just some tweeter.
Right. Well, I thought the word of diabolical was funny.
Yeah. Yes.
That actually, like,
it tipped you off that it might be like tongue in cheek or something.
The word choice was a little strange to me.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. And he says that there was a hoax, using a title like Church of Satan in England about a year ago as a political prank. But he said that that Satanists are generally consider abortion to be in the choice of the woman who's carrying the baby. And he said, quote, "We consider sexual experiences to be an indulgence between consenting adults that should be taken seriously, particularly when the possibility of pregnancy is concerned."
Right. So they really need to figure out if she's carrying devil spawn or not.
And if she is, then hooray.
Yay, keep the baby. if it's not, then
really,
I guess it's up to you.
It's
like the second coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Oh, get rid of that thing.
Yeah. Boop. Reset.
Let's try this again. Hey, that's.
I wonder how many times that's happened.
The second coming has tried to come and been aborted. Well, see, now you're just playing off of my play. I wrote a play called The Immaculate Abortion.
Yeah, I wasn't really, but that's okay.
But that's
the same idea.
It's the same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. They keep trying.
Oh.
What, man, can you imagine the sadness in the eyes of a really, really earnest anti-abortion right-wing like Christian if you mentioned the possibility that Jesus could have been trying to come back multiple times and kept getting aborted?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would just bring tears.
Yeah.
It's nothing but sadness.
It's really sad. It's really terribly
anyway
sad. Well, if you're sad too,
then you can tell us all about it
on facebook.com/TGIAtheist. You can like us.
Yeah, or you can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442. We're going to take a quick break. And this is... What is this, Dan?
It was actually sent in to us by a listener.
Yeah.
Calling himself Undercover Atheist.
Oh, okie dokie. And I guess, well, the YouTube title on it says, "Atheists cannot explain this." So we'll see what it says.
If God does not exist, the Nazis were not wrong. It's just your opinion that they were wrong. If God does not exist, love is no better than rape. Not in an objective way, anyway. You just may not like it. It's just unfashionable, perhaps, but it's not really wrong. If God does not exist, blowing up innocent people watching a marathon is morally no different than feeding the poor. It's just your opinion. If God does not exist, religious crusades are not wrong. I had the opportunity to debate Christopher Hitchens a couple times. I love Christopher Hitchens. He was great. We had a lot of fun. He had a British accent, so he sounded even more brilliant than he was. And you could see both our debates on our website, crossexamined.org, for free. And Hitchens kept talking about all the evil religious people were doing in the Crusades. I say, Christopher, I agree with you. Exactly. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that if there's no God. Because there's no standard of righteousness. If there's no standard of righteousness, nothing can be unrighteous. In fact, tolerance is no better than intolerance. David, with his organization, rightfully fights for tolerance for atheists. But look, if there's no God, why tolerate anything? Because there is no, in fact, there are no human rights if there is no God. Everything is a matter of opinion. If we're just overgrown germs that got here by some evolutionary process, then we're no different than any other animal. There is no objective morality if there is no God. Now, by the way, I didn't say atheists weren't good people. I didn't say atheists couldn't know morality. What I'm saying here is atheists can't justify morality.
Well,
my favorite part of that whole thing is that we can't have grammar without God.
yeah, it's, well, clearly.
I mean, not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure grammar could evolve on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, animals have grammar.
Well, thanks to God.
Thanks to God. That you make a good point. Thanks to God.
Come on, Dan.
Anyway, that was sent in to us by an undercover atheist. He says, great show, keep it up. He saw the above link on YouTube recently and wanted to get our take on it.
Wow.
He gave us his take, which was, he says, so the argument is flawed, obviously. The question is, why is it flawed? He says morality and ethics are created through the social contracts that bind us.
Right. They
may be religious or governmental in nature, but it is an agreement nonetheless. So, yeah, I think, and he also, he goes through a whole argument here. But what I wanted to get into was, and his argument's good. I'm not discounting it. But I wanted to say that we really need to. What's funny is that I've definitely heard this argument before. I've definitely heard people saying that without God as sort of the provider of morality,
right? But
then where does it come from?
Right. Well, and clearly, none of the items that he listed were such as blowing up innocent people watching a marathon. Right.
Yeah.
That couldn't possibly be religiously justified by a different religious group.
Right. Exactly.
So unless you know, which they all know, that they've got the right pipeline to God.
I mean,
how do you know you have the right set of ethics?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So you have to look to these social contracts. You have to look to humanity for the source of, how to.
Even if we were going to go with his God, which I'm assuming is, we'll just call him generic Christian God. That even has changed over time.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, come on.
The religious crusades were not wrong.
Even God's, and he says that they were wrong. He says he agreed with him. Well, okay, if you agreed with him, then why was it right then and wrong now?
That's what I'm saying.
Or why is the Bible, or you could say that, well, they weren't actual Christians. They were acting against God. Well, I'll tell you who wasn't acting against God: the guys in the Bible who owned slaves.
Right.
But now that's not okay.
Right.
Or the guys in the Bible who committed mass genocide.
Right.
And it was okay then. It was commanded by God then, and now it's not okay.
Right.
Which leads me to think, maybe this isn't some objective morality that comes from God, but rather just a human morality that comes from humans.
Right. It changes with the times.
Absolutely.
It changes with human understanding of right and wrong.
Yep, that's what our emailer said. He said the social contract changes over time as our relationships with one another are redefined. So we as a community should set down our moral benchmarks. He's saying he said, I will gladly agree with my fellow man. We won't commit the following. We will not commit genocide on one another. Rape is not permitted. Feeding the poor is infinitely better for society than blowing up a marathon. Wars based upon religions are not religions are not permitted. Tolerance is better than intolerance, and human rights are determined by humans. Here's the thing. I think we as a group need to stop talking about morality. I don't think morality is a useful term anymore. It's too mired in religion. I like to talk about pro-sociality and anti-sociality. Or at very least talk about those as the basis, those concepts as the basis for morality. If you've read Sam Harris's book about morality, he talks about it being, based on the concept of what will promote human well-being and what would be a cause of human suffering.
Right.
And why can't that be a very good objective basis for morality?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's got to be Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
I'd rather understand where my morals come from than not understand them.
Than not know that it
And
comes...
just take them at face value.
Yeah.
Right?
A set of-
Jesus said this. Which, of course, Jesus didn't say any of this crap. But, like...
Or
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's in the Bible. It's a set of immutable rules that can never be changed.
that are always changing.
That are always changing anyway.
Based on whoever's the preacher.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. At very least, now we can have a conversation about why we believe what we believe.
Right.
And whether we should continue to believe what we believe.
Right.
We can't even have a conversation in this country about abortion. There's just two sides.
Yep.
And they can't converse. They are non-conversant sides.
Yep.
So, I mean, and it's because of religion. It's because we can't have a rational discussion when someone pulls out the religion card.
Right.
As soon as you pull it out, the discussion's over. Anyway, excuse me. The undercover atheist who wrote that also wrote in a second time this week. So I'm just going to quickly cover this because this is a personal anecdote and I really liked it. He said that he listens to us. He's finally caught up and listened to every episode. That's really nice. Mm-hmm. And he says that we've done a great job of combining humor, current events, and atheist news. Well, good, because that's what we're doing. That's kind of that's our mission statement. But he said he plays our podcast while he prepares in the mornings. Quote, over the past few weeks, trying to catch up, it has been every day. After hearing me play your podcast, my wife confronted me last night. In a joking tone, she asked, are you now an atheist? For the first time with anyone on the topic of religion, I decided to be honest and direct. I wasn't going to use the agnostic answer I have used in the past whenever asked. The conversation was short. I tended to ask more questions than she did. The two key questions I asked were, does that surprise you? And does this change anything? Concerning surprise, it did. She asked how an atheist could be a member of the organizations I was a part of and deal with on a regular basis. But she was not surprised given my nature, just given my life. And then he says, does this change anything? She said, no, why would it? I'm not some religious nut. Is she an atheist and just not know it? Maybe this conversation will open her up to asking herself some questions. Anyway, he goes through sort of pinpointing how when he became atheist. He said he read a whole bunch of fantasy books and eventually looked at the Bible and went, oh, well, that's kind of the same thing.
Right.
Anyway, he said he doesn't intend to come out to the general public anytime soon, since it may destroy or hinder his career and network. But he says it's good that my wife knows and is comfortable with it.
Cool.
It's like our friend Paige said.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being known.
Right.
And how well can you be known, and how intimate can you be with your partner if there are things that they can't know about you.
Right.
So congratulations on that.
Indeed.
That's great. I also wanted to shout out to Nana, who wrote to us.
Thanks for writing, Nana.
Oh, she said she feels like she's a personal friend. I kind of feel pretty warm about her too.
Yeah.
Oh, Nana. Anyway, she said some nice things. Oh, you know what? I'm going to read one thing that she wrote because another person had written in and asked us about other atheists. They liked the segment with the scathing atheists that we did and wondered about other atheist podcasts. And frankly, I don't listen to many, and I know that you don't listen to any. Do you?
No, I don't.
But she said, but Nana had a nice list that she listens to, so I thought I'd read it out for people. She does say that so far we're the only one that she gives financial support to.
Oh, that's
on
nice.
a monthly basis, which is very nice. But she says she also likes Seth Andrews, Phil Albertelli, The Humanist Hour, The Atheist Community of Austin on YouTube, Reasonable Doubts, and Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. She says they're all intelligent. She says Reasonable Doubts and Skeptical Guide to the Universe are intelligent shows. All of those are clean, quote, clean, Once in a while, I listen to an, quote, explicit show like Godless Bitches, Post-Rapture Looting, or Cognitive Dissonance. She says in parentheses, I once wrote to Cognitive Dissonance about their language, and they wrote back, that's why the explicit tag is there. Naive me thought it was it referred to topics, not language.
Yeah.
She says, I can now tolerate F-bombs, although I don't use them myself.
Right.
Sorry, Nana, we use the F-bombs.
But not as freely.
No.
As a lot of...
Perhaps not.
A lot of podcasts.
But we have definitely dropped some F-bombs. Mm-hmm. So Nana, who is in her 70s, you can commiserate with my mother over that. But thank you so much for listening. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you've got some voicemails for us.
Well, I have a voicemail for us. And so yeah, let's take a listen.
Hey guys, this is Tom from Metro Detroit. I just want to thank you for just being a softer atheist, because I've been an atheist for a while. I was raised Catholic, but not really religious. Despite religious school growing up, it was never a big deal. But I've been an angry atheist for a while, and you guys helped me kind of, I don't know, soften my edges, and I appreciate it a lot. I was just wondering, I'm pretty open. I tell my whole dad's side of the family knows I'm atheist, but I don't tell my grandma, because my grandma on my mom's side, she's Catholic, she goes to church every single day, and I just feel it's easier just not to bring it up. Is there a problem not bringing that kind of stuff up? Should I tell her, or should I just leave it quiet, which is what I've done now? It doesn't really hurt anything. I don't feel stifled or anything. So if it's not a problem, is staying quiet the way to go? Just, who cares? It doesn't hurt anything. So just wanting your opinion on it. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's what an interesting thing. The truth of the matter is here that there is no universal answer for whether or not you should tell loved ones about your atheism.
But I think in this scenario, it's easy to say if, it's probably not. It's no big deal.
No.
You don't have to tell her.
No.
Is it going to break her heart? Is it hurting you somehow to not have her know?
Right.
I
mean, and it does mean that you won't be able to have a full understanding of each other.
Well, but how many?
But you may not anyway.
Right. I mean, a lot of times with grandparents, that's not what you're going for.
Yeah, my wife's grandfather died knowing that she had left the Mormon church, and one of the last things that he ever said to her was, "Come home."
Right.
And that's just, I mean, it's clear that him knowing didn't hurt their relationship. They still loved each other very much. Mm-hmm. But him knowing also didn't do anything positive for anybody.
Right.
It just made him sad.
Right.
And it's not like they had discussions about it.
Right.
He wasn't the kind of guy that wanted that kind of a discussion. He would have eschewed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't have to tell everybody. Let grandma die happy if that's how you think it's best. It's your choice. It may not make her unhappy. You never know, but you know grandma better than we do. So
right. And if this is what's been working up till now, I don't see any need to rock the boat with grandma. I don't. Yeah. I mean, parents are different. Parents you have a different relationship with than grandparents. I think, depending on your relationship with your grandparents. But I know just personally, my parents, they had to know. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, consequently, they also blathered everybody. So, so there was no way that grandparents weren't going to know. But yeah, I don't think that it's necessary. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the truth is that we all get to make this decision for everybody that we know on our own. You can decide your level of involvement and your level of outness in the universe.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily one of those scenarios where it's like, and again, there's no universal here, but like there's a lot of good that I think that can happen in certain environments where you feel safe enough to be like, oh yeah, I'm atheist, where you know your job's not going to be on the line, but having your coworkers know an atheist, or in your neighborhood, right? If you've assessed the situation, you know that like you're going to be safe, you're going to be good after coming out,
right?
So great, come out, because that can do some good in the world. But if you've assessed it and you're not going to be safe, things are actually going to be in peril.
It's up to you at that point. I mean, the truth is, if you feel like, like you pioneering a bit, even if it hurts you a little bit, would be good for your community. Some people make that sacrifice.
Some people do.
Some
people are willing to make that sacrifice.
I'm not someone to tell you no.
Right.
But you need to assess what's going to be best or worst for you. We got another email from Mike. Mike said, humans need a better end goal, something truly meaningful, like making the world a better place to live. The religious have theirs figured out, salvation and eternity in heaven. He says, we can give the world something better than a myth. We accept science and the reality of the world around us. They deny science, evolution, global warming, etc. The fate of our planet is of no interest to them. They're going to heaven. The effect this has on public policy and their views of things holds humanity back. Their resistance to the facts about the world keeps them dumb, right where the corporations and right-wing politicians want them. He says, I think we need to point out where religion hurts us most. Not say it is stupid. It is, but that's not the message that matters. We need to send a message about the bigger picture. Keep up the good work, he says to us.
All right.
Or maybe he's saying that to all of you. Keep up the good work, everybody.
Sure.
But thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you
for that thought of the day. So what else is what else we got? We got one email from Brian that we referenced at the top of the show.
Ah, yes, indeed.
We'll move on to Brian because Brian used to be a member of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, which is an interesting group.
A fascinating little sect.
Yes. In fact, when we were in Kansas, met a couple J-Dubs who were at that party.
Former J-Dubs,
yeah. Kids who had grown up J-Dub.
Yeah.
And cute little couple.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I liked them.
And
do you remember their names?
I don't remember their names.
Okay.
But they
Sorry,
were,
guys.
They were really sweet, and I chatted with them at length.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. But anyways, it sort of rekindled a curiosity about the Jehovah's Witnesses.
About these these people.
It's a crazy little group, because one of the things that also driving around the South we noticed were tons of Kingdom Halls, which are what the Jehovah's Witnesses call their little churches.
Right.
And like seriously a ton of them.
Yeah.
A surprising number.
More than Mormon churches.
Oh yeah.
That we noticed.
Way more. Yeah. It seemed like they sort of picked roadside spots to put them.
Yeah. Right on the highway there or whatever.
Because we're definitely seeing them there.
And we didn't see, and in fairness, Mormonism may not have as strong a foothold in the South, and they may be stronger down there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where the demographics of J-Dubness is. Where like regionally.
Yeah.
Where their strongholds are.
No clue.
Anyway, so Brian wrote into us and gave us an anecdote about his life as a former J-Dub, and then said he'd be happy to supply us with some information if we ever wanted to do a thing about them.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, go.
Yeah.
Mark cassette, go.
Yeah.
And he did. He took up the mantle and ran.
Mm-hmm.
Took up the mantle. Is that a Mormon? Is that a Mormon phrase, or is that just a religious phrase?
I have no clue.
Take up the mantle of God. And anyway, he took up the mantle of historian slash info deliverer, and gave us some good stuff. So let's start.
Okay, why don't you get started on that?
All right. The history begins in the 1870s when as Brian puts it, a wealthy haberdasher named Charles Taze Russell was. Well, you know what? I could honestly, if I just selectively told this story, you would think I was talking about Joseph Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Just a guy was questioning all of the religions, and ran across okay. So he says he ran across the teachings of George Storrs and George Stetson, who were Adventist preachers involved in the Millerite movement, which was the same movement that gave rise to the Adventists, the Seventh-day Adventists.
Right, exactly.
So so there's sort of some common ancestry between the J-Dubs and the Seventh-day Adventists. And we'll see some more intersections, some more places where they convene. It's very interesting when you start learning more about all of these religions that started up in the 1800s. You start to really learn what the 1800s were about, like what everybody was looking for in the 1800s in America.
Yeah.
Because these are all very American religions as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Charles Russell, got in touch with another Adventist named Nelson Barber, who after he received a copy of Barber's magazine, Herald of the Morning. So Barber and company taught that Jesus Christ had returned invisibly in 1847.
Isn't that a fun thing? I want to know more
74.
about returning invisibly.
He came back in 1874.
What does that mean?
That was the second coming of Christ.
I know, but invisible?
They saw it through signs. They didn't see it. They didn't see it through seeing him.
I thought he like.
Do you remember the movie Predator?
Yeah.
When like the predator's sort of invisible, but every now and then you see a leaf move, and you know that's sort of
that's what Jesus did.
That's what Jesus did in 1874.
Okay. That's what Predator was actually based on.
Exactly, Predator is based on Jesus.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
he's a little bit of a predator,
and sort of carrying it further. The Schwarzenegger character was Charles Russell in this scenario.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so Jesus Christ had returned invisibly in 1874, and in 1878 the rapture would come, and all the Christians would be taken away to heaven. And Russell was on board, and he loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly. Oh wait, no, he sold up, but he did sell off all of his stuff, all of his business, and went to fund the Herald. And wrote for the Herald, and they were all very excited. And then 1874 came, or 1878 came, and nothing happened.
Okay,
no rapture. We all know how that feels at this point. All that build up, no rapture.
So sad.
So this created tensions between Russell and Barber.
Okay,
I trusted you, Mr. Barber, he said, in my mind. Ultimately, Russell withdrew his financial support from the Herald and started his own magazine, part of the title of which you may recognize. His magazine was called Zion's Watchtower and Herald of Christ's Presence.
Wow.
Little clunky title.
Yeah.
A little bit clunky.
Need a little reworking.
Sure,
That's fine.
Sure.
But they nailed it later.
Which they did,
yeah.
Yes. They shaved it down just to Watchtower. Which was a good move.
Yeah.
A good move.
They should really
then again,
the Watchtower. It's cleaner.
It's nicer. Yeah, exactly. Where was the guy that helped out
with the Facebook?
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
Where was Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
When Charles Russell needed him.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so the Watchtower started, and he started to gain a following. Apparently, really the key to starting a religion in the 1800s was publication. If you had a book, if you had a magazine, if you had something going, boy, if you had something that worth reading, people were on board.
Lots of wives.
Yeah,
also a key.
Yeah, exactly. Oh well.
Oh hey, I'm gonna have lots of wives.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that took hold.
That wasn't a selling point of Mormonism.
Well, I'm saying we're talking about Jehovah's Witnesses.
I'm saying you said in the 1800s.
Yeah, okay.
A good thing to have. And I said also
Also that.
Yeah.
But not so much for the J-dubs.
No. They didn't do that.
No.
They were smarter than that.
So in 1916, Russell, God bless him, he died. Poor guy. But he, by this point, he'd built up the watchtower, and there were a lot of people on board and everything. So, so obviously it had to carry on, and enter a man named, God bless him, Joseph Rutherford. Rutherford.
That's a good name.
Who our friend Brian really smartly equates to one Mr. Brigham Young.
Yeah.
He, because he's like the second guy. He kind of muscled it away from some other people that possibly should have been part of things. He replaced the board of the watchtower with his own people and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, we decided when we were looking at his Wikipedia page that the picture of him, of Rutherford, if you just put a little mustache on there, he looks like Hitler.
Yeah. Which is, it's creepy.
Yeah. That dude looks like Hitler. He's not Hitler, but he looks like him. Anyway, so this movement, they were originally called Bible students.
Yeah.
They called themselves the Bible students.
The BSers. Good. That was a good move, changing their name.
Yeah, they needed to not be known as the BSers. J-Dubs works a lot better than BSers. Hello, we're with the BSers. Oh, okay. Although the effect is often the same.
Yeah.
If you say to someone if you show up at someone's door and say we're the Jehovah's Witnesses, most people hear we're the BSers. Anyway, they broke away from that idea because Bible students as a group had fractured into a number of different splinter groups.
As happens.
This apparently this is a very common theme.
If you start a religion, be prepared.
There will be breakoffs.
There's going to be some offshoots.
Yeah, you're going to say something. It's going to piss 12 or 13 people off, and they're going to run off and form their own thing.
Yeah.
They're going to have their own little charismatic leader.
Hold it together. Just hold it together.
Yeah.
Realize, though, that one of those new little charismatic leaders might be more successful than you.
Maybe.
It can happen.
That's a possibility. If you're the founder, usually you got some clout.
Yeah.
But if you're not the founder, if you've just sort of taken over, there may be others that could do better. You never know what's going to happen.
Know.
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So these guys decided to start calling themselves the Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's how it happened.
In order to prevent them from being confused with other Bible students.
God.
And then apparently Rutherford also predicted a date for the end of the world, which was in 1925.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that didn't happen.
He was wrong about that.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Okay.
That I know about. It doesn't seem like it happened.
Well, maybe it was an invisible end of the world.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
The second coming was invisible. The rapture was invisible.
Yeah.
You can't see any of it.
These poor schmucks. They didn't see it.
No, they never got to see it.
They knew it was coming, but they just didn't see it.
Rutherford really shook things up, changed a lot of things, changed a lot of the beliefs. He was the one that sort of started introducing all of the really strict beliefs about like no Christmas and no Easter and no fun and no friendliness.
My God, I don't like him at all.
I know.
He's the one that made the J-Dub kids at my school weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what made him stand out and be totally weird.
Exactly.
And the fact that we had to make like really lame, like secular Christmas arts projects.
Well, you should be doing that anyway. You shouldn't be doing the Christmas.
Pish posh. I want some good Christmas. I want some Santa Claus.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be Jesus. I want some Santa Claus.
Some trees.
I want some trees. I want some snowmen. I want some reindeer.
Those are all the things that the J-Dubs hate.
Yeah, they hate that stuff.
Because
and that's totally like the secular side of Christmas.
Yeah,
but
so
nonetheless, we couldn't do any of that. Instead, my mom probably still has it somewhere because she saves all this kind of crap. Although I think she had a purging a few years ago of all like my Christmas ornaments that I made for her. But this was made with it was a little tiny like soda fountain drink that had a hook on it that we made in class out of like little pom-pom things.
You're like, Mom, look, it's a vanilla Coke.
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, thank you." And she hung it next to the Santa Clausy stuff that my brother, who was 10 years older than me, had made at school.
Look, it's a milkshake.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was responsible for that, and then he died, and so it became a much more organized organization. It became a very top down sort of thing, not unlike the Mormons.
Grumpier too,
and very grumpy. Mm-hmm. They were good at grumpy. Hey, when you're good at something, you roll with it.
Yeah.
And then, so I love the series of these. In the late 1960s, the Watchtower Society, which was the organizing group now, which was the group in charge.
Okay.
They began hinting at the year 1975.
Oh, the year I was born.
The year we were born.
Yeah.
You and I were both born in that year as a year of significance.
It was.
Well, I think they're right.
It was a big year.
I think that's when the real second coming came. And it was in the form of me.
I don't think so.
You don't think I'm Jesus?
I think that would be sorely disappointing.
I think so. I think so. It would be awful if I were Jesus.
No, not if you... I mean, if you actually were, that wouldn't be a terrible thing, would it?
Well, no, I'm just saying, it would be awful for them.
Yeah.
If Jesus came back and it happened to be me.
It's just you.
Everybody'd be like, oh, what?
Some guy.
It's just some dude.
Who, yeah.
But I believe that very firmly in my heart that if Jesus came back now, he would have a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Clearly.
He wouldn't go in for the ostentation of a network TV show.
Oh, no.
He'd be a podcaster.
Sure.
Anyway.
It's kind of it's a people's medium.
Anyway, apparently, and I'm not sure I get the math here, but since there was a book called Life Everlasting in Freedom of the Sons of God, and this book,
I beg your pardon. Life
Everlasting in the Freedom of the Sons of God.
Okay.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. No, wait. And they claimed that since Adam was created in 4026 BC, Bryant puts BCE.
Oh, good for
I don't think that the J-dubs use BCE. I'm guessing they use BC.
I have a sneaking suspicion they probably use BCE.
Just to be weird.
Yeah, because they do the scholarly thing, right? That they're Bible scholars, and so I betcha.
Then explain to me this. Explain to me how the year 4026 BCE would be 6,000 years before 1975.
Well, you just do the math.
That math doesn't work out.
Dan, do the math.
Okay. Anyway.
There's some missing years in there.
Yeah, we're missing something.
But
I'm sure they have it all sorted out.
You lose a year every once in a while.
I'm sure they have it all sorted out.
I've lost weeks.
Yeah, well, definitely lost a night
I've lost
or two.
Some days.
Yeah,
weeks might be pushing it.
Hey, I don't remember being 6.
Lost weekends
at all.
Weekends I've definitely lost.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing, I mean, we heard Pastor Charles in Waco, Texas, go through an entire explanation of time and how the equinoxes work to make sure that to prove why the Sabbath is on Sunday instead of on Friday, the way the other Adventists do it. And it just makes your head spin. So I'm sure that they've got some very intense reason why that's 6,000 years.
Okay.
Anyway, so 1975, 6,000 year anniversary, round numbers. Jesus loves round numbers.
So wait a second. If he was created in 4026 BC,
Adam was, yeah.
Adam,
yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because I just pulled up the numbers. I actually wasn't on the page, so I wasn't looking at them.
Okay.
That seems right.
Okay, wait a minute.
That's totally right.
1975.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I'm not even in my calculator here. 1975.
It adds up to be 6,001.
Minus, what are we looking at? 4026?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, minus 4026 equals 2,000. Yeah. Okay, my math is bad. But it's, yeah.
So that's how you get the 6,000th.
Anyway, so yes.
And because you also can't count the zero.
Yeah.
Right?
0 becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So, okay. So 6,000 years. I've never been good at math anyway. 6,000th year of man's
and I'm not
creation.
good at listening. So, like, you told me the numbers, and I was just like, yeah, that sounds dumb.
You're not even paying attention.
I'm looking at something that I want to get to.
I was just not subtracting year 0 out of it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so they concluded that it would. So this book apparently said how appropriate it would be for Jehovah God to make this coming 7th period of 1,000 years a Sabbath period of rest and release. And it would not be by mere chance or accident, but would be according to the loving purpose of Jehovah God for the reign of Jesus Christ, the, quote, Lord of the Sabbath, not to be confused with Lord of the Dance, to run parallel with the 7th millennium of man's existence.
That would be lovely.
It makes perfect sense, obviously.
And that, too. But I'm thinking more it would just be nice.
Yeah,
But they were wrong.
Now, how do you know that? Oh, wait. It didn't happen.
Because they did math, and they were wrong.
Yep. So,
How many times do you have to be wrong, right, about these kind of predictions before you realize that you just are fucking clueless?
Well,
You're just you don't know your ass from your elbow at that point.
You really don't. You really don't. And this one they hit pretty hard. Apparently there was a whole thing about like there were lots of different places. He provided several quotes that were like hitting on the thing. There was a whole Stay Alive to 75 campaign within the church. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
They were saying things to the young folks like, "Hey, don't bother going to college because
well, they kind of believe that anyways.
what good is it going to do you when in 2 years Jesus comes back?
Ugh.
So you won't be able to get a job with your crazy fancy college degree once Jesus is here."
Yeah, he's not impressed by a degree.
No, but unfortunately, he didn't show up.
Damn it!
Kind of a jerk.
He always is doing that. He's standing up his believers all the time.
He's just a deadbeat.
Yeah.
Is what
he doesn't even text.
No.
He doesn't even send you a text to say he's not going to show up.
Exactly.
Like, oh, sorry, I made plans.
You're sitting there.
Other plans, and they're cooler. The group's better.
You're sitting there like an idiot. You don't know whether to get a table at the restaurant or whether to just wait in the waiting room. Finally, you just get a table. You're like, he'll show up. He's Jesus. He promised.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll happen. And then you're just there drinking your water like a moron.
Yeah.
Eventually, you switch to a cocktail.
Yeah, because you got to get
drown your sorrow
at this point.
Everybody's looking at you. They all know what's happened.
Jesus stood you up.
They all know what's going on. It's just embarrassing. You go off. You have to go to a bar afterwards and pick up on some really ugly person just because you need to feel
some
like
ugly
somebody
deity.
not. Yeah, exactly.
some other deity.
Other deity is just the first deity that you find because you need to feel like someone will accept you and not treat you like crap. But then that guy just, they don't call.
Got like an elephant head and
you go and sleep with them, but then, it's not good because everybody's too drunk to make anything good happen. And then, the next day you're like, I'm sorry, awkward, I apologize, but I can't see you again. They don't want to see you.
I still have these feelings about Jesus, and it's just not going to work.
And they were just in it for a random, for a rebound fuck anyway. So
Yeah.
it's all very ugly business. Let's talk about some fun beliefs that the J-Dubs have.
They do have fun beliefs.
They do. Do you want to delineate a couple?
Sure, why not?
Throw some out there.
He lists one that the J-Dubs do not believe in the Trinity.
That's true. They are non-Trinitarian.
Yeah. Like the Mormons, they're non-Trinitarian.
Right.
Some of the things they believe that Jehovah is God the Father.
Right, and so Jesus Christ is his son and a different person altogether.
Right, which is, from my understanding, more like mainline Christianity. I mean, like Jehovah is God. God of the Old Testament's God the Father.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. But
whereas the God of the Old Testament, in the Mormon perspective, is
Elohim.
Jesus.
Well, right. And
Jehovah.
Jehovah is Jesus.
Right.
And
But
Elohim is God.
Anyways, but they don't really believe in the Holy Ghost. They just believe that the Holy Spirit is a person. It's not a person, but is a force that God uses to create.
Use the force,
to
God.
Perform miracles or bolster people's faith. And
I think it's a guy with a sheet over his head. That's what I think the Holy Ghost is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some
mods
got to. Yeah. And then also, and and that's like, okay, well, I don't believe in the Trinity either. So,
yeah.
But then this is funny though. And I remember this from like encountering Jehovah's Witnesses in Italy on my mission. They do not believe that Jesus died on a cross. And this is like crazy important to them.
Yeah.
They believe that he was on like a stake, right?
Yeah.
And because they object to the cross because it's a pagan symbol and blah, 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 blah. Whereas it's like, well, but the Romans didn't do that.
Well, no, they did actually.
They did do that?
Yeah. So I looked into that a little bit, and
okay.
apparently that's not an entirely unfounded thing, and they're basing it on some scholarship. Like they're interpreting a Greek word differently.
Stauros.
Differently than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess there was a tradition of just hanging someone up to a stake.
Interesting.
And putting their, using the same nail for both of their hands as well as their feet. And just...
sounds so brutal.
Yes, it's called a crucifix.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, and it's just a hang up. Like it's a big old hang up, and it's really important to them that they're like.
Mind you, they didn't always believe that. That belief changed in 1936.
Wow.
They used to use the cross and crown symbol on their tombstones and on publications.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Now what do they use?
It's
a watchtower.
Watchtower.
Yeah. Dumb. Stupid watchtower.
Maybe balloons.
Oh, I like balloons. Maybe I should be Jehovah's Witness. And then there's that whole only 144,000 people go to heaven and the rest of everybody's on earth, and it's amazing and awesome.
Which creates, I mean, originally, I believe that it was 144,000 get to be sort of exalted and everybody else just dies.
Oh, really? That was the original
I think that was the original thing. And then they had way more than 144,000 believers, and somebody did the math and went, wait a minute.
Well, but still, even though that's sort of the anointed class, right?
Right.
And still to this day, though, like when they do communion, they only do it like once a year on their memorial service.
Which is in memory of Jesus' death, but it's definitely not Easter.
Right. And they pass bread and wine around through the crowd, but most people don't partake because it's a major faux pas if you've not been identified as if you're not recognized by the society,
right,
as
anointed.
As anointed.
You know what's interesting though? They don't keep, like the centralized group. I read this. Don't keep track of who is anointed. Only the individual congregations keep track of that.
Oh, so they can't ever
so that nobody
really know the numbers.
Right. Yeah. So
that's scary.
Yeah.
And there are more. One of the things though, that just because the numbers came up, I actually found a site that has their population by country.
Oh, okay.
The membership by country listed out.
Because their spoken membership, their self-claimed membership is what?
It's like somewhere around 7 million,
right,
worldwide. And this, I don't know. This actually doesn't say the year of these statistics. Where does it say? Yeah. The source is the 2002 report of the Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide. So these are their self-reported numbers from 2002.
Okay.
And so in the United States, just over 1 million. Okay.
Okay.
And then it jumps down to like over 600,000 for Brazil, almost 600,000 for Mexico. And it's really interesting. Like their top 10 countries are Brazil, obviously United States, Brazil, Mexico, Nigeria, Italy, Japan, Germany, Philippines, Russia, and Ukraine.
The Italy's the one that jumps out at you.
Italy jumps out at me. Japan also kind of sort of jumps out at me too.
That is interesting.
And so does Germany.
Yeah.
Germany with 164,000.
Huh.
And their numbers for Europe are way better than Mormon numbers. Because like this number, this 235,000 for Italy is crazy good. That actually puts them as one of the largest. I think it's like, there's only a handful, first of all, non-Catholic churches that actually have like good, solid numbers.
Right.
And the J-Dubs are right up there in those.
Well, I think you've said that
way beyond Mormons.
When you were there, you encountered a whole bunch of J-Dubs.
Yeah, we actually went and visited their publication center in Rome.
Oh, really?
It was big and fancy and state-of-the-art.
Oh, there you go.
There were J-Dubs everywhere, and the grounds were really, really hyper clean.
I love the fact that you said there were J-Dubs everywhere. It made it sound like they were like little critters running around.
They were
everywhere.
just everywhere. They were everywhere.
You have to look not to step on them.
Yeah, and they have a look too. Because
Do they?
Yeah, well, in Italy you could spot them you couldn't necessarily spot them out of a crowd, but the kind of dress that all the women wore. It wasn't like a uniform or anything, but it was like a very modest, simple, basic dress. And of course, they would just buy them at the local store. I mean, It wasn't like there was some central distribution of dresses or anything. I'm not suggesting that. But they just had a very clean, modest, simple sort of thing going about them that felt very not Italian. It had a frumpiness that wasn't Italian.
Okay, that's fair.
Had a floral printness that wasn't Italian.
A Mormonness, if you will. They're so like the Mormons, it's funny.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing. On the Wikipedia page, it says that their membership, the organization worldwide reports membership of over 7.78 million.
Wow.
That's adherents involved in evangelism. They say convention attendance of over 12 million.
Interesting.
And annual memorial attendance of over 19 million.
Yeah, wow.
Are people bringing all of their friends?
That's really...
Come with me to memorial?
I don't know. I doubt it.
What does that mean?
I have no clue.
Because under members, just sort of in the stats box, it says 7.78 million.
Well, maybe everybody comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah, but you'd think that they would count all of those people, all of the woodwork people, as their membership. If they're coming to memorial.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe those are a lot of curious outsiders.
I don't know. Brian.
Investigators.
Brian, we have questions.
But I will say this, and there's nothing that makes me more sad than coming across a statistic like this.
Yeah.
Trinidad and Tobago, which is paradise on earth, right? They have over 8,000 J-Dubs there. What a sad group of J-Dubs. You're in fucking paradise and you're Jehovah's Witness. That sucks.
How many people are in Trinidad and Tobago?
Not a lot.
Hang on, I'm looking it up. The entire country's population is, if it'll load, where is it? 1.3 million.
Yeah. 8,000 in that country. That's...
I don't know. I think you can still have a
sad.
I think you can have a nice time in paradise and still be... And because they drink.
They do.
They don't get drunk.
That's true.
But they drink.
Yeah.
And you could be hanging out with everybody else at the Kingdom Hall and then going and
frumpy, boring religion. Like it's just...
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they can't go to the beach.
It's like Mormons going to these places. It's just a waste. It's wasted on them.
No paradise for you.
No, none.
I don't know. Mormons have that nice thing in Hawaii going on. They've got BYU Hawaii.
Yeah, but they still don't have fun.
They don't have fun. They don't know how to have fun.
Yeah, they have a hard time cutting loose.
Yeah, that's sad.
It is sad. So they go and they kind of just look, wistfully at the beach.
No, the grown-ups have long since killed their wistfulness. It's the children. Like the grown-ups just walk through with this sort of steely-eyed resolve. But the kids look at all of the fun that's being had, the steel drums being played on the beach and the people drinking their beer and laughing and cavorting, and the kids are just like, "Oh.
Yeah.
That looks like fun. Daddy, can we go do that?" No. We don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Boo.
I looked for. I couldn't find Saudi Arabia on the list because I mean the list is crazy, right? Like there's 178 countries listed here.
Yeah.
That's like all the countries in the world. So I was like, obviously Saudi Arabia wouldn't be on the list, but like the Falkland Islands, 5 members. They were counting them. Montserrat, 9.
Well, and what's interesting is that so every J-Dub on the earth is expected to go and do missionary work always.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Mormons where they send out the young guys to go and do missionary work, and then maybe when you're old, you go and do some too, for a couple years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
These people are all expected to put in hours every month.
Yeah, that's true.
He says the average is something around along the line of 9 or 10 hours a month, I think is what Brian said.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Malta,
yeah,
Malta, 544.
well, that's like Italy.
It's beautiful.
Anyway, yeah, there's it's a fascinating group of people, and I'm actually so interested in the parallels between Mormonism and this. It's the same thing. I mean, these they grew up in the same time period ish. They came out of sort of the same tradition. I mean, and you can just see there's this hunger for revelation and for newness, and there's this sense of
I'm right, you're wrong.
well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And both churches believe that distinctly. They have an exclusive handle on the truth. Period.
Yeah.
Capital T truth. So it feels. I feel at home talking about these people. I feel like might as well have been one, but I'm glad that I got to celebrate Christmas and my birthday.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, yeah, it feels like the grumpier Mormons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for all their faults, Mormons, they don't really know how to cut loose, but they're not grumpy per se.
No, they still have fun.
Yeah.
They just have Mormon fun.
Yeah.
It involves a lot of bowling.
And I bet the J-Dubs feel the same way.
Yeah.
I bet they feel like, we know how to have fun. We're fun.
Right now in the world, there are J-Dubs looking down on the Amish and just saying those people don't know how to have fun.
If you can have drinks, even though they're not supposed to get drunk, but if you can have alcohol, you can have some fun.
Yeah.
So they have to be actually probably more fun than the Mormons.
I don't know about that.
I know they seem grumpy and they're very insular and they're right and you're wrong.
Right.
But I bet they have fun.
But everything's about Jesus. Everything's about Jehovah.
Yeah.
To them. There's no fun in that. I don't know, Brian, did you have fun? Now you have to write to us again.
Let us know.
Or if any of the rest of you were J-Dubs, please fill us in on the experience. We've hopefully illuminated what they are and what they're about, but we don't, that's the one thing you can't look up on Wikipedia. What is it like to be a J-Dub? Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. I think that was a fun little conversation that we had. If you have some input that you'd like to provide us,
you can do that on facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Mm-hmm. You can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Don't forget that you can help support our humble little podcast by giving us a little bit of money if you go to thankgodimatheist.com.
And of course we'd also like to thank the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening, guys, and have a good one.
Have a fun time in the world.
Bye-bye.